حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Ready? Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa la wa la akbaruhu wa ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. As-salahu bil-huda wa din al-haq liyudhhirahu ala ad-din kullihi walau karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We seek His help, His aid and assistance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. And we bear witness that He is the only one, the only authority, and that He sent His messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth, to raise all mankind. He's known as Khatam al-Nabiyyin and Kafata and Lil-Nas. He's the messenger to all mankind. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for raising him. And even that, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for living in this maze of insanity, that we were directed toward Al-Islam Medina. That is, Al-Islam, the way of life that is the truth. It is Deen al-Haq. It's the way, it's the methodology that leads to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It leads to truth, it leads to justice, and it leads to happiness. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that type of contentment that He directed us to, but allowed us to reach a level of contentment that we didn't believe possible in the world in which we live. So, and now, again, we want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing y'all to be here amongst us. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now, if we missed a few formal steps, just make dua for us. And also thank Allah for us. Because we're not going to pretend, but you know, what we've been experiencing, which everybody around us knows. I give you an example. The other day, when we were in the banking parking lot up there, getting ready to go to California, my van was parked up there, and I tried to get in that another van, and I looked all in it. I looked at the stickers. I still didn't recognize nothing. Then I asked the brothers to come up. Some of them are here today, to come up and help me get in my van. When they got up there, a nice lady said something like, "Is that your van?" And then I realized it looked like mine. I done looked all in the van. I done tried the doors. And guess what? I looked at the sticker in the window, and I didn't realize that that was not my van. And the lady said, she didn't call the police. She was a nice lady. What are these 3 Negroes out here rumbling around my van? She just said, is that your van? Now, I believe strongly in ayats. So here's what happened. Then I tried the keys, and guess what? The door opened. Did I get mad and think, oh, I'm going crazy? I didn't do that. I said, alhamdulillah. I said, this is a sign from Allah, a blessed sign. Because I was getting ready to go to California with highway arrogance. Now, I've traveled back and forth all over this country many times. With highway arrogance, with my state of mind at that time, being bashed upside the head in Oakland and experiencing what I'm going to call, don't get shook up or don't get scared, the beginning stages of what they call it, whether Alzheimer's or stuff like that. You know, when you forget where you are and what you're doing. Now, I want you, the brothers witnessed one thing. When we drove back here, I was driving so slow, it was a shame. Then when I was driving my daughter around, the guy next to me right at the stop sign, at the stoplight at East Copeland, Benning Road, he said, hey, man, you're getting over on me. So distance, perception, I was too close to him. You know, the point is I wasn't perceiving nothing according to its distance, place, and reality. And people was definitely kind to me. My daughter said, Dad, are you all right? You're going a little slow. I said, well, sweetie, if I drive any faster, I'm going to run into something. I want you to remember the highway. Remember out on these highways. Imagine me in that condition driving through the hills of West Virginia. Whether I'm in the fast or slow lane, them big trucks rumbling through there at top speed, and they run up on me. If I'm in the fast lane, they're going to scare me to death. If I'm in the slow lane, right, they could run over me with all their cargo and everything else. What that was a sign for me, and it was a blessing that my highway arrogance, I drove back and forth to California 1,000 times. That was a sign for me. And when that lady said, is that your car? I said, yeah. That's a sign that I'm not in the condition to be out on the highway. And Allah saved me from that 500-foot drop of ditch that one of them big trucks would have ran me off the highway. You know, we always talk about the signs, right? Now, there's other signs that was headed my way, but I didn't pick them up. But that sign showed me, hey, man, you ain't in no shape to go to California. And I called the brothers there witnessing. And so I'm imagining they said, man, the Imam is tripping, man. That ain't, you know, I'm calling them there to help me, but actually a lot of them had me call them there to witness my condition that I'm in. And I said, the brothers see the condition, and if I didn't recognize the signs that I wasn't in no shape to drive to California, if I go out there now, I'll ride the bus or do anything I need to do. I may even catch a plane, but I may feel comfortable riding all the way out there. Here's what I'm trying to say, brother. When we came here, we had certain goals. And we said if we last 5 years when we get here, we're going to break all the records. This is way up in the 30-something year. And we've experienced everything that Washington, D.C. can throw at a person or a group. We're still here. We're still alive. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. The other thing is, something happened recently. We always talked about archives. We always talk about chronicling. So we have, I don't know if you see here, we have notebooks of historical realities. And so The other week, they stole all my ID and everything, but they also stole the notebooks. That's why I know it's the government. If it was a Negro, he might steal money, he might steal other things, but he don't have no need for the 1990-something record book or 2000 so-and-so record book. So what they doing, I'm not saying that the government instructed some people to whack me upside the head over and over again. One of the brothers here, you know what he said? He has some medical training. And they looked at the video, they looked at me, they said, were you conscious doing all of that? You never passed out? I said, absolutely not. I didn't pass out at all. He said, that's serious. He has medical training. Now, I'm going to jump to the crux of the khutbah today. All of my historical writings related to what happened in the past and to chronicle and pass that message on to the rest of humanity. And I was hooked up in that. I liked it. The government stole all that. Along with the property out there in California, they just took it. The bank records, everything they have that I can order them through the courts, but they stole all of that. Now, here's what I say. All that was in the past. A few nights ago, or a few days ago, I woke up with a flash. It was a flash. Let them have the flash. The past. Claim the future. As a movement, as an organization, as a contribution you want to make to history, what do you want that to look like, right? What do you want to be like? So what that means is, what do you want your organization to look like as becoming a world-class organization? So that means let them have the past. We're claiming the future, right? And we're coming up with our own plans for the future. So starting right here today and a few days past, we let the past go. Whatever you got, keep it. You want all that out there in Oakland, you keep it. That's all in the past. So now we're moving toward the future. When it says write your own book, you know, want to get his book this hand, the other hand. So really writing our own future now means this. What do we want to look like in the near future? What type of organization do we want to be like, right? And we have, and in this period, see, it's different right now. In the past, healthy and energetic, half the time when I would come up here, I would be talking about me, myself, and my conflict with the system. Me, and I. But see, now there's something different. Any of the brothers can tell you that, that my family can tell you, it ain't no more I, me. Why? Because Allah then allowed a blessing to come my way to weaken my physical body, not physically, but my psycho reality, to where I'm telling you in front of the camera and everybody else, I have, this is just fun, I don't want you to associate with this. I have, let's call it a petty case of Joe Bidenism. So don't laugh. I don't want to be associated, but just for today, I'm saying. That's what I have it. I have it in reality. I have a petty case of Joe Bidenism. That boy can't remember nothing. you know, and the monster helped engineer that. But they was thinking and hoping we're going to steal all of his stuff related. He loves to historicize and talk and put all that together. So they took all of that. They wiped out the past. Here's what I said. You keep the past. We're going to write the future. So you're here in a khutbah today where we are reclaiming our future. We are participating in writing what we want to look like, what we want to be like, and how we're going to be there. And we also have the courage and the discipline to know, and the history to know, that we can do certain things. If we think about things, we pray to Allah, and Allah shine his blessings down on that reality of that movement, we know there's absolutely no limits to it. And we're having several crises right now, and we've always identified ourselves as a guerrilla type of movement. Well, I want you to look at the popular science and this period. And what can we do? What are we pushing right now? This guerrilla resistance movement is resistance to the big giant oil and gas companies that own everything. Okay, so now I want you to visualize four-wheel drives with big magnifying glasses on the back. And they having, just like you can see, it's going to rain today, it's going to be this much. And this guerrilla resistance vehicle, or mobile revolutionary unit as we call it, will have a big magnifying on the back. And remember, this is hooked to a computer-generated locational system that locates where heat and is needed, where it's needed, and the amount of sunshine that's going to be available at that area. All that's possible right now. Now, I want y'all to remember, they say, what is this brother talking? This is the resistance movement high level. I'm talking about it's going to be worldwide, from Norway where it freezes to death to all out here. Well, what type of movement that you're talking about where everybody going to love the Negro and everybody's going to participate in it? Well, I want you to think about Europe. Think about popular science. Think about when we was kids, we used to use a little magnifying glass and we could burn a leaf or whatever, right? Does anybody used to do that when they was kids? With a magnifying glass. That was a little one, right? But now, I mentioned you got storage tanks all around the region, heavy metal plated on one side where it can stand the heat and the pressure. Now, I want you to imagine computer-generated, computer-directed, right, sunbeams through a big magnifying glass to where? To those heat generators. They're going to, just like that magnifying glass would burn a leaf and set it on fire, think of that sun. They talk about solar power. Well, think about solar-directed power on those canisters or on those all around any certain country. And it will heat up that, and that heat will push through pipes and heat up homes, right? And on a small level, you can heat the rocks up and stuff in front of the house or the floor, and that'll bring heat to it. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about a resistance rebellion, a resistance to paying all that money to those big companies. They're going to be calling us, please come take your stuff back, because when we mobilize this stuff worldwide, I want you to imagine they're not going to make any more money off heat because it's clean energy. You're using the sun. And when you use sun and wind, they can't control that. So I want you to think about Europe and all over this area. And we'll develop houses that are built for that. And also our mobile units will have its construction fit into supplying, right, our housing units that we done already built. Me and you, Latinos and everybody. We're talking about a revolution. What does a revolution overthrow? It usually overthrows a dictatorial government. What we're throwing over today is not only the dictatorial government of the United States, but the dictator-type lackeys in Congress and everywhere else that works for this dictatorial government. So technically, this is hooked up with an environmental liberation, where the environment was given free to everybody. The wind was given free to everybody, isn't that right? The sun is given free to everybody. Therefore, we want to harness that for the liberation of Europe, for the heating of Europe, with the simple technology that exists. I'm telling you about, they got GPS things. I'm just telling you, this is popular science, which we used to study that a long time ago. I want you to think about if you can heat up a leaf and burn it, set it on fire, or a piece of paper with a small magnifying glass. Imagine with a big, giant magnifying glass, directing the light of the sun, beams to others, a whole collection of them. This is part of a revolutionary guerrilla four-wheel drive movements. It's all set up to transfer the heat of the sun from one to the other, and it transfers to our special built homes and everything, that we can heat the floors up to those houses from the outside. This is cutting out the big monster. And this is a revolution. And we're going to teach that concept. This is the first time you've heard it. But we're going to teach that concept. We're going to develop that. Right now, I just want you to visualize the possibilities. We used to call it a long time ago, Claramundo, which means clear world in Spanish. Claramundo means developing the technology that don't smoke up and burn up the whole society, right? Okay, the other thing we want to tell y'all, dear believers, this world is going lickety-split to you know where else. It's not reviving, it's not redoing nothing. It's not rejuvenating nothing. And now we have our wives and we have our children to think of. So we have to now start taking the chances that we should in our time to protect their future. Their future, everything is in Allah's hand, but for you, what you do now, their future is in your hands. If it's up to boss man, he's going to blow them up. He can't wait to start a war, right? Forever wars. That's what he want to do. Now, he don't know one day they might flip the long switch and China may not feel like putting up with oppression. And Russia may not feel like putting up with oppression. And them dummies, which are suicidal, I'm saying to you all, they're suicidal. We're saying we have to recapture our own destiny. We have to recapture our own lives so that we direct our lives in a direction that we think is healthy and wholesome for ourselves. Now, this off-the-cuff talk just a minute ago about computer-directed sunbeams to control our own supply of heat, or to heat up utilities that heat will be pumped through pipes all around our area. We're talking about breaking the back them big rich companies they're going to come start begging our revolutionary movement, please don't do that no more, because cutting down on all our money. Well, that's what we headed out. That's what we've always been. We are a combination of an evolutionary resistance movement and a revolutionary resistance movement. And they think that by doing what they did to us, they would cut off our past. We said, you did that. You stole all our notebooks. You stole all our stuff. You stole every paper. And you went to where we had it stored, and you went down there, and you can't find nothing that we would want to put in a historical perspective. So then we sat down. We said, boss man done stole the past and space. He did a good job. We said, let him keep the past. Now, here's what he can't steal: our future. All of a sudden, and I'm telling you for real, and the brothers know it because the brothers are around, and I had to call brothers to help me do certain things, and it wouldn't be like a little while ago by myself. I would build houses, I'd build everything by myself. But this is not an individual period. This is a collective period. So I had to depend on brothers around me. I had to depend on them. When we get on the highway collecting funds to fund this big movement, definitely, here's what we're saying. That's going on things. When this is replayed, this is today, this khutbah to me is one of those staged events that is a cornerstone of rebellion. They'll be replaying this for generations to come, that's where it jumped off. And then they'll say when the Imam stood up to give that talk, he was being plagued by, let's call it society, a billy club, which they busted me upside over and over the head with. I don't care what you call it. I'm calling it just for a joke. The Joe Biden attack. When I go somewhere and I can't remember nothing, I tell them I got a touch of Joe Bidenism. This is a joke to me. Can you imagine the worst disease you can think of? Forgot this, I forgot that, I can't find this. And you look around, this is really happening. I'm telling everybody, this is happening right now. I'm not trying to hide nothing or play like it ain't happening. I'm telling you, on that pass, they were absolutely successful. What I'm saying is, from now on, we're moving into becoming a world-class operation, because that's what we want to produce. That's what we want to be. That's our plan. That's our vision. What do we want to be like in the very near future? We want to help lead that environmental resistance movement. It's as simple as taking a magnifying glass and heating up something until it catches on fire when we was kids. What it is remembering all those things, and now we're going to place them on the back of four-wheel drives, and we got our computers that will it will direct those heat waves from our big giant magnifying glasses into others that will be pointing at whatever we want. We're just going to say whatever we want to heat up. Whether we want to heat up boilers and the boilers will push the heat through, or whether it will be floors that we want to heat up floors, it's what we want to do. We're saying that we're going to be so successful that the government officials going to be calling us, and the big companies going to be calling us saying, please stop them people from stealing sunlight and ruining our business. Please stop. Oh, Mr. Musa is what they're going to be saying. Oh, we so sorry. We thought we was beating you upside the head to run you crazy. And instead of running you crazy, your brain opened up, your heart opened up, your spirit opened up. Just like when anybody hear this, they're going to say, man, that guy's not in the past, he's in the future, he's in the now. That's what they stole the past. And it felt, I said, man, they stole, everybody knew I was saving all that stuff to write about. Then something clicked. Let them have the past. We're claiming the future. We're going ahead. And we're not doing it. This go around, it's not as an individual. When I drove back and forth all over the country, it was as an individual. I can't do that stuff now. So Allah arranged everything, so I need help and I need assistance. There's brothers we was cooking down there. If you happen to lack the food, somebody had to be there with me and was saying, oh, there's a knife right there. Why? It's right there in front of me. Didn't see it. Okay, I'm telling you that whatever they wanted to give me, I got it in spades. And that's going to be an asset. It's not going to be a liability. Why is it an asset? Because I have to depend on other people. I have to depend on friends. I have to depend on children. I have to depend on the community. So in the near future, when we done whooped the old boss man, this is another forecast. I'm forecasting that our environmental resistance movement will catch on worldwide. And when I stand up, I won't be saying, I did this to boss man. I did that like I usually do, right? Me. I will be saying, we did this and we did that. And last week on the talk of, and I'll be closing out in a minute, that was a subject about certain things where you expose defects in yourself that the enemy could take advantage of. So we expose those certain defects all. And so you can remember some of the khutbahs, you think, man, what's happened to the brother? Is he tripping? I'm going to tell you what happened the other day. Like one night, I had a view into certain personal ends of time. And the next day I came up here and I gave a khutbah about it. And an old white folks song came up, you know. You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Ain't gonna be nobody with you. You got to walk it by yourself. In other words, this is about death. You're gonna die, the lonesome valley. Ain't gonna be nobody walking there with you. Because you're dying. They're not dying, you're dying. And I came up the next day and I talked about that. So people came out of the woodwork. Man, Imam must be tripping. So it was exposing the defect. You can ask the brothers here. The Negroes came out of the woodwork. All the enemies asking the brothers. Has anybody had any way out experience? If you would raise your hand. Did any Negroes come to people with proposals? Hey man, all of them dealt with, we got to get that Masjid and we got to get that. Did anybody have any experiences like that? That's right, because we talked about that. Look, by exposing the weakness, what they call a weakness, you should imagine the woodwork. And people came out with things like, man, you ought to give me that Masjid over there. Them niggas over there talking about the brothers, they ain't gonna do nothing. And, they don't know what to do with that. I said, oh, is that right? It don't look like people. I thought it was a friend. And was anybody else approached with that same style of discussion? That's that. So was anybody else approached with, hey man, we can use that over there? They was trying to double cross, get the believers here. And one person even said, man, you got to put that in my hands. I said, well, I can't do that because we have a committee. I'm the Imam, but we do this as a community. I can't turn nothing over to you. And then he brought up something he thought would work. Don't you remember the fat black man? Those guys associated some of them with the fat black man. And they they also belong to them fraternities and everything, man. And they put that stuff first, tried to make me suspicious about our brothers. I said, thank God for exposing. It's a fainted deception. It's called fainted incapacity. You know, you're getting up to go in the boxing ring and you say, well, give me my cane, and you just can't hardly get the rope. So your opponent said, I'm going to whoop this guy to death, right? So he loosens himself up and he come at you, got himself wide open, and you beat him to death. What we've been doing is not planned fainted incapacity. It's, I call it Allah-directed fainted incapacity, because it's going to come from the personal Negro plan. And it brought out, there are some people in here, if I'm making this up, if somebody would raise their hand, and are there anybody else that have received the exact type of experiences that spring from what we've been talking about? That's right. Almost everybody here have. And the people expose themselves. That's what it was for. You might think it's strategic brilliance. That nigga, he might be old and funny looking and funny acting, but he keep coming up with these comprehensive plans that trip up everybody. Not only we trip up, but this Claramundo, we're moving from here today to develop a world-class movement to help relieve humanity. And a little girl, Greta, sits out on the thing, and everybody, Greta Thunberg, and everybody invites her to the UN to talk, and they don't do nothing, and they're frustrating her. We're going to join with that whole movement, that environmental resistance movement. And we'll be Negroes right in the center or circumferring around that, and we're going to play our right place in it. This is the time of we call Claramundo, clear world, an environmental historical resistance movement. And we're going to be right at the front table where we can help exercise some authority and some direction. So what we're saying to y'all, now I'm talking to you, what I was telling my daughter, I say, I got a little peri-alpinus like this a little bit. She said, Dad, I don't think it's peri. I think it's full blown. And I'm coming to you with this clear call to writing your own future, not your history. See, the right type of plan is a window to the future. Where we're standing here right now, from waking up last night or the night before, with these ideas of a whole new, we're not going to sit here mad about the past, because I treasured that old historical stuff and date books on all of my stuff. But here came the clarification. Let them have the past. You claim the future, right? So from our future, it won't be, I did this. You know why? Because a lot of redirected my strength and memory to where I felt so happy, and I looked at older people with stuff like this, and I had a group of believers around me that would go with me. We go pay taxes, we go do this. This happened all the last 2 days. I'm so thankful of a group of people that you trust, and people always try to break that trust. them niggas ain't no good. Them niggas is fraternity members. Them niggas put their fraternity before they do Islam. They do this, they do that. It ain't working. And guess what? If there's any hero of this story, if it would be, I did this and I did that, now it's we do this and we do that. Because, dear believers, the world needs a rescue movement and to restore sanity. Do you see the world as being discombobulated and insane? This time, it's not that this is our demand, but the Negro will be in the front or at the associated with the movement, given his historical, heartfelt reality to the direction of Claramundo, clear world, Claramundo. Hey man, I'm telling you. And this is a new world. What's that world? It's the world we want to live in, the world that we want to provide for our children, our wives and children and our family. Why? Because we can already see what boss man got claimed for us, right? That we have to do it for ourselves. And that's what that stealing of all of the stuff led to. All this stuff I cherished, I loved it. Documentarianism. Anybody remember all those, what do we want to do? Historicize, right? Chronicleize. Does anybody remember that in our writings? Okay, I think most of our brothers remember that. Okay, they stole all of that. But we're not going to chronicle the past. We're going to develop the future that everybody can live in. If historical writings was going to do it, the history of the Roman Empire, right? The rise and fall of the Roman Empire, right? All those great history books, and then the religious thing. The religious books always talk about the same thing we're talking about, the rise and fall of empires and doing good to humanity. And we've held on to a few things. It's called, and we'll close with this, the uphill road. What will make you know what the uphill road is? It is joining together to lift up one whose face, that's what it says, y'all can remember, down in the dust. And we talk to our brothers about this all the time. Hey man, try to help the people who are considered useless and worthless, right? That's what the uphill road is. The uphill road is also staying straight and solid when you have acquired wealth and power, and to use your power to do good. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. So dear believers, I would like to say something before closing. And I'm not going to say it because I would be saying, I this and I that. I this and I that, nothing. It's we, it's us. It's about us. It's about our history. It's about pulling together as a team. See, so Allah kind of lessened my physical strengths so that I would have to depend on other people. I have to. Right? So I will have to say from now on, we, us, we did this, right? We held on, we struggled. We developed that picture of the future for ourselves and our family, and we took the steps necessary to make that come true. So it wasn't me, it was us, right? We pulled it off. It's called esprit de corps, that team spirit. Look, hey man, there's nothing better than that, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's direct guidance. So if it was me, I, and historical record, how many history books is written about Sodom and Gomorrah and the fall of Babylon and all of that, right? They're everywhere. If history was going to wake everybody up, we got tons of books on it. No, it's not history, it's now. It's Allah placing us in the present and doing the things that will give on time, in time, guidance and direction for the people who are alive right now. That's a great honor, and that's a great privilege. And also, even better than that, is to share that with the people who are here, that we can make our impact on history so they won't be able to make fun of us and have us in TV movies acting a doggone fool, because we've played a world-class picture. And that's the picture we have of ourselves, a world-class movement. And dear believers, we thank you for listening. I don't want to get any more complicated because, like I say, I'm just telling you the truth. I got a little bit of what they call them things, a little bit of Alzheimer's, I have a little bit of it. And when you can't remember stuff, it makes you confused. You know what I'm saying? And you put something somewhere and you can't find it out. So boss man, no. So I'm standing up here today telling you this is happening. And the last thing I want to close with, I didn't just come across this. When I predicted and made fun of boss man all the time I've been up here, he got so mad that he had his eye on me and he put everything in thing. I said, well, boss man, Claramundo is going to rise so popular. And it's going to be, it started and carried by a Negro of all people with Alzheimer's. I tell you, and it's going to be public. The world you think the world laughing at Joe Biden in the United States now? We're going to play this to let the world, this Claramundo that we getting involved in, the brothers got to help me remember where a knife is for cutting a salad. Because I don't remember. Is that what you're looking for right there? Oh, yeah, I saw it all the time, just pretending I didn't see it. There wasn't nobody there. I'm just telling you. This is now where the trust in Allah. And then they're trying to break our love and from each other so you don't trust nobody. Hey, here's the way it goes. Dear believers, if people watch the news and they don't realize what the Quran has been telling them and what's been presented to them, their heart has to open up to their own wives and their own children. And then they have to think, do we want to leave our future in boss man's hands, our wife and children? We want to leave it in boss man's hands, or we want to leave it into the dear brother with Alzheimer's. Here's what you're going to come up with. I believe you're going to come up. We would trust him with Alzheimer's more than we would with the Congress, the Senate. I'm just telling you straight out real. And you don't have to feel sorry for me I'm technically one of the happiest people in the world, but not those like happy people in the crazy house that's always grinning. Not that type of happiness. And in closing, I want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing me to live and allowing me to live the life that I have lived. All over the world, from the richest to the poorest, from the sane to the craziest. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing me to stand right here before you. And one of our favorite ayats was when Allah sent the message for Musa's mother to throw him in the stream, right? And the sister Maryam followed. Then he was picked up by what the Quran refers to the enemy of him and the enemy of his people. And then, when Allah in the same ayat is talking to Musa alayhi salam, see if you can remember it. It says, haven't I had you covered all the time? Right? And then Allah is relating in the Quran, when you was thrown in the stream and you was picked up, da-da-da-da-da. And then Allah says, and you can see it's in Surah 20, He said, now here you are, Musa, here are you in my presence for my service according to a qadr, a taqdeer. So what? That's one of my favorite ayahs. So when I look at my life, and I'm going to close with this, brothers and sisters, I've been all over the world and been involved in everything. And I was down in the jungles of South America, where cocaine is produced. The first country, I lived in Colombia. I actually lived there. And I came there from Bolivia and Peru. And I looked at a lot of my friends. And during that period, what happened to them? And I looked at a lot of peripheral people. And I know some of the things that happened and how. When I looked at the O.J. Simpson case, I had some ideas. Because Johnny Boy, one of my good friends from L.A., he was killed by, I'm not going to put this on Latinos like they the bad guys, but certain people from somewhere, places, they don't shoot you up and beat you with a baseball bat like the Negro would. They sliced them to pieces, man. Johnny Boy in 75 was sliced up while he owed the Colombian. I'm not going to say I'm not slandering people, but those people, big money, and they cut him to pieces. And everybody that was cut to pieces like that, it was for some reason. So when they had O.J. Simpson in jail and the white girl was sliced to pieces. Why? Because she had used O.J.'s name to borrow up all that money. All that cocaine from them. And when they came for payment, they didn't have it. So they cut up her and her boyfriend, sliced them to pieces. Now imagine, he's a health nut, physical fitness. Well, why he couldn't do that? What would happen to the woman? If you got a health nut in a woman, you notice women have a natural defense network, and there was no way that was going to happen with an old man in his 40s with arthritis, with a health nut, and a woman that he can cut them up like that. Like I say, that was a cultural killing, and everybody in the game knew who did it. Right? Okay, we have some information like that. Now, we thank Allah on and on because Allah protected us from going through that life with all of those people. None of that ever happened to none of us. And then we come to Islam. In Islam, we find a type of contentment. Remember the hadith on contentment? None of that, the wealth, the money, the power, it don't give you the type of contentment. With all of this stuff that boss man, see, we're the target of the system, but we're not going to be here crying about, oh, they do this and they do that. No, why? Because it gives us the whole picture. We're happy that we got a chance to live through all of this. We had a chance to go through all of this. And we're thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to be here before you today with, I'm just joking, I'm not going to say this publicly, with a tinge of Joe Bidenism. You know, because I like to make fun. Yeah, you could probably tell. We was cooking last night, and then we was looking for certain stuff, and the brother would say, "Oh, there it is right there." I said, "Well, you think I didn't see that? I know where." I was just joking. And of course, I couldn't see nothing looking right at it. So I don't have no peri, no light, Alzheimer's and all that. It's heavy. That's why I have to depend on other people. We went to pay taxes the other day, and we paid all them thousands and counting out all them thousands of dollars. I had to call another brother. So there's somebody there looking at it and protect. So that old big-time individual Musaism, Allah throws it out the window that you have to depend on. That's what Ummah is for. You have to depend on the Ummah, and then just in case you're getting a little fat-headed, Allah said, now you have to depend on me too. You have to depend on me. Not that I wasn't already doing it, but just a reminder. That's what those ayats are for. Like I say, I was over there at the parking lot, and I'm getting ready to close. And that was a sign. I think it was a sign from Allah that I wouldn't use highway arrogance. That I can drive back to California all I want. And I jump out on the highway doing 10 miles an hour, and them big old truck caravans come through doing 70, 80 miles an hour, them big heavy loads, and run me off the highway into a ditch in West Virginia. I was thinking I wouldn't have got through the mountains of West Virginia getting out on the highway the way I am now, driving slow and taking it easy. So, dear believers, I confess that I believe there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger. And I want to thank y'all for coming here for all of these years and putting up with all of the tension and all the lies people would come to you. You going over to that Masjid over there, and you go over there, you know. They all kind of different stories. I thank you for having the courage and the stickability to stick with us. And I'm going to close with our policy here has always been, it's been something like what we call love, humor, and optimism. Ayub, I'll tell you, when I was in the hospital with my head busted wide open, and when you're sitting there, they ask you questions. What day is this? Now, I'd be sitting there, the chalkboard was right there. Where are you? I said, I'm at GW. Did I remember? Heck no. I said, I'm looking at the board. You know, I'm just looking at the board. They got the, the data stuff on the board. And the only thing I said, Brother Ayub came to visit, I said, optimism. Stay optimistic. Now, that comes from the brothers going to see about Joseph and his brothers, right? And what does Allah tell them? Go see about Joseph and his brothers and never give up of Allah's soothing mercy. For none give up hope of Allah except those that have no faith. So I'm telling you, dear believers, the only thing that we're fully cognizant of is Allah's soothing mercy. That the creator of the whole universe, the stars, the mountains, everything in the universe, is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, that knows I exist, and he knows that he created me and created my environment. And I know that. And there's nothing more powerful than that. So, dear believers, have hope in the resistance environmental movement. We're going to develop that with Allah's help. And then don't laugh yourself into a situation. Because if you thought you saw stuff funny, wait till we present the next stage. Thank you very much. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. And in closing, O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, from lack of strength and laziness, cowardice and niggardliness. And O Allah, thank you for giving us health and sanity and for holding up decade after decade against the most oppressive system in human history. And thank you, Allah, for helping us see clearly and through your window to the future, which is called planning and the planning process. And in closing, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, lack of strength, laziness, cowardice, and niggardliness, and from grief and being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.